Just a short while after the Crusader Intrepid was launched onto the PTU servers of Star Citizen, spaces like Reddit, Discord, and CIG's own forums were ablaze with ridicule and astonishment at the paltry weaponry it was given. Well, CIG heard you loud and clear and has already buffed the ship, so how does this impact its viability? Also, the Medical Terrapin got some love too. Hello folks, Space Tech here, and welcome to a short video discussing the brand new balance change that was just pushed onto the Star Citizen PTU. I'll be comparing it against the old Intrepid, as well as seeing how it stacks up against the competition now to try and understand if the improved Crusader Intrepid is in a better place and worth your purchase. If you found this video interesting or informative, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. So what exactly has changed with the Intrepid? For now, just the one thing that mattered most, that size 3 weapon mount that has been upgraded to a size 4. They also changed it from a laser cannon to a size 4 laser repeater, the Rhino. Thankfully, this also makes the Intrepid look better as the cavity on the right side now feels filled by the size 4. This new weapon tops out at a much better 75 shots now with the full investment into weapon power. At the very least, this is going to feel a lot better for a new player than the 15 shots from before. Let's look at how this improves your DPS. I'll be comparing burst damage of the weapon with the most DPS from each class. For laser repeaters, we go from 786 all the way up to 1179. For laser cannons, we go from 684 to 1025. To round it out, the ballistic Gatling goes from 676 to over 1250 because of access to AD4Bs. As we can see, these changes are pretty massive across the board. Now, by no means will this make the Intrepid a fighter. Keep in mind, several of the other starter ships in this class come with multiple weapons, which will often outperform a single weapon of a bigger size. With the new gun, however, you can finally expect to out-DPS ships like the Cutter, beating it by actually a pretty hefty margin. That's going to be about it though. Compared against ships like the 100i, you still have a fair bit less damage, but at least the fight will be way closer now. So how does this affect the Intrepid overall? In my opinion, I think the Intrepid is a much better ship after this change. It didn't need a whole lot of weaponry to make it good, but the single size 3 was downright atrocious. Now, when people talk about how the Intrepid is a cargo or blockade runner, or just a starter that doesn't care about combat, I can actually agree. The challenge before was not that a non-combat focused starter existed, it was the fact that a new player trying out combat in the Intrepid would have a truly awful experience. Entry-level missions were taking forever to get through, and were non-conducive to a new player actually wanting to try out combat gameplay. Eventually, it should also help with its damage against armored targets, whenever those are implemented. It's also worth keeping in mind that even if the Intrepid will eventually be good at blockade running due to its speed and low signature, that's not the experience that a new player is going to have today. So can I now recommend the Intrepid as a starter? I think so. It's not for everyone, but for a new player who really wants to experience the RP or Star Trek fantasy, I don't think any other ship in this class compares. You can finally enjoy those incredible interiors without effectively locking yourself out of one of the most common game loops in the game today. The improved look doesn't hurt either. You're not going to be breezing through VLRTs, but it won't be nearly as bad as before. That being said, it will still come down to price. If you can get it around the price of a Cutter, absolutely go for it. You lose a couple of features like being able to drive a Pulse straight into the back, but you still gain a lot of interior space and polish. Unfortunately, if it's around the price of an Avenger Titan, that ship still comes out on top across the board. The Intrepid isn't the only new ship that got a change though. The Medical Terrapin was also released onto the PTU at the same time. This little ship came with one size 2 medical bed and a pilot seat. While this was already an interesting concept by itself, the Terrapin's highly armored exterior implies that it was meant to operate in dangerous areas to rescue people similar to the C8R Pisces, just with way more durability of course. Unfortunately, with only one pilot seat, it seemed as though there was no intention to allow for multiple people to be on board the Terrapin. This would force the pilot to get out of their seat, open the doors, go find the person, bring them back onto the ship, and then begin the healing process on the patient in what you can only assume to be a combat zone. You better hope that that armor holds up. Well, I can confirm that a drop seat has been added to the Terrapin. Again, it's not the seat itself that is important, it's the fact that the ship will now definitely be able to support at least 3 people with its life support systems. There's going to be another person who can attend to the patient as the pilot flies them all to safety. Overall, I think this is a really great change. So those are the big changes to the PTU patch. While I'm not a big fan of releasing these ships early onto the PTU, as it draws away the hype from IAE itself, this is what PTUs are for. Without this, it would be way harder for CIG to make changes to ships after they've already sold them to people. I doubt anyone would have complained about the buffs, but this is a much cleaner way to make sure that the community is heard. Think about it this way, if the Intrepid came out with an enormous gun, say a size 7 on it, people would rightfully complain that it steps on the toes of much more combat-focused ships like the Ares. Selling that ship and then nerfing it would be way worse than just being able to fix it on the PTU. These changes should also reassure you that CIG is listening to feedback. They're going to make changes based on your response. Overall, I appreciate them for keeping an open mind with this balance. I hope to see more of it in the future. The question is, have the changes changed your mind at all? Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.